Hi guys, back again for 2 videos in 2 weeks. I've got a day off today, but I have plenty of things to do, so I'm going to keep this relatively short. I need to get a haircut. Is one of them. This is kind of like a, I don't know, like a preemptive comb over I've got now. So I need to go and get that sorted. But anyway, I've picked up some things that those of you who follow me on Instagram will have already seen at some point. But I want to get back into the way of making videos, so I thought I'd show them. When my local record shop was having a sale, the one that I used to work in, and they'd got a whole load of new stuff in, so I picked up a couple of things from there. Diamond Dogs. This was, I thought I'd have found a copy of this by now, but certainly of that kind of golden, can you call it a golden period of Bowie? This was a big hole. So I've finally just bought a copy of this. So I'm delighted to have this because it's a great album, and it had been missing. And I've been at a funeral that day, or I was going to a funeral that day, and I just felt a bit crap about things. So yeah, I picked up this, which I didn't have. This Hawkwind album, which I did have, but this is a earlier pressing than the one that I had. I had the Sunset reissue. It's not an original pressing, but it's the later kind of black Liberty label one. But this is my favourite Hawkwind album. I'd love to get an original of this, but they're into 3 figures, so it's unlikely that'll happen. So those were the 2 that I kind of spent some money on. But they've got a whole load of stuff in, and I thought I'd have a flick through some of the other racks just to see if there's things that I'd missed. And this had been in there for a while, and it was filthy. Like, you wouldn't even risk playing it, that's how dirty it was. But I kind of thought it will maybe clean up, so it was like £5, and it's cleaned up lovely, actually. It's called This Is the Music of India. It's just sitar and tabla by these guys, and yeah, this is really good if you like Indian music. Yeah, I mean, this is the kind of thing you'll find cheap in a charity shop or a junk shop somewhere. So if you can get it for a few quid, grab it, because it's worth a listen. I thought it was quite funny that it's got a Gracious album on the back, and Graham Bond, which looks like it might be a good one. But yeah. So I can recommend this. If you see it, it doesn't look like much, but it's actually really good. Then also flicking through, I thought I'd have a quick flick through the folk section. I normally have a flick through the jazz and the folk just to see if there's anything new, which there normally isn't. But in the folk section, I did find this. I've been a fan of Ivor Cutler for a while, and this was like a £5 as well. Again, it was dirty. It's cleaned up. It's not cleaned up as well as the Music of India one did, but it's got a few more scratches on it. But it's still perfectly playable. I might give it another clean to see if it helps a bit more. I don't know how you'd really describe Ivor Cutler. Surrealist, maybe. He's a bit folksy. He plays the harmonium and basically writes silly songs, but they're not just silly for the sake of being silly. I don't think they're quite often quite poignant, and there's a lot of spoken word stuff on this as well. This was released on Virgin. I'm not sure what year it came out. Let me check. This isn't an original pressing. I think it's a slightly later. 1975. This came out. It's on the Virgin label. But yeah, well worth a listen to. I don't know what the best songs on it are. I like Yellow Fly. That's quite a good one. But also Little Black Buzzer. That's quite a good one. And there's one about pushing his brains around the table with a fork. I can't remember what it's called. No, I Got No Common Sense. But yeah, if you don't know Ivor Cutler, worth checking out. So that's all my kind of recent pickups. Other things I've picked up, not so recently, but Deep Purple's Machine Head. This was a charity shop find. I already had a copy of this, but I think mine was maybe like a Greek pressing or something. So I'm delighted to have found a nice quality UK pressing of this, because Deep Purple were always my kind of favourite of those classic, you know, if you're going to have Deep Purple, Led Zeppelin and I don't know, who else would you put in there? Black Sabbath maybe, although I do like a bit of Sabbath. I would say Deep Purple were probably my favourite. And this album for me is kind of like The Wall with Pink Floyd up until this point, and like Pink Floyd up into The Wall I really enjoy. Then after that, yeah, I start to be slightly less sure of it. But certainly Mark 1 and Mark 2 Deep Purple are my favourites. But this is definitely a classic. Yeah, I wasn't going to turn that down for £1 or whatever I paid for it. I picked up this Grateful Dead album. It's actually a 3-album set, limited edition of 2000, on coloured vinyl. I can't remember what colours. There's like I think there's a blue one, a yellow one, and I can't even remember now. But this is good. Just a live set of Grateful Dead. Ridiculously cheap. I think I paid like £12 for this. So when you think, you know, like the Grateful Dead, the stuff that comes out for Record Store Day, for a 3-album set, you're probably going to pay like, I don't know, 70 quid for it. For the 12, you'll be able to go on eBay now and probably buy this for 15 quid. It's well worth the money. It's not the greatest cover, but the cover's kind of growing on me a bit, and I've been fascinated with the pyramids actually at the moment. The whole theory that the pyramids and the Sphinx are actually vastly predate the Egyptians, and we could be on like a completely different cycle of humanity is fascinating. So yeah, so this was a great buy, and like I said, it's really cheap. So if you like the Grateful Dead and you like their live stuff, yeah, this is a kind of no-brainer. Finally, this was another charity shop find. There was a new charity shop opened up quite recently, and I keep trying in, but there was never any records in there. And then I got wind of the fact that they did have a box of records in there, so I went down there, and sure enough, there was a box that maybe had, I don't know, 15 or 20 records in it. And I just started to flick through it when a guy came up to me, who's another local kind of recordy guy, and he kind of smugly leant over to me and went, "I got all the good stuff out of there." And just as he said it, I flicked to this. And I managed to look back at him and say, "Oh, you didn't get all of them." And this is brilliant. I paid 50p for this. This is the Gil Evans Orchestra with Parabola. I never actually asked him what he got because he left. So, but I don't really care, because this album's great. It's on Horo Records. Bit of damage inside the gatefold where it's obviously stuck together at some point with damp. Gil Evans, I think he worked with Miles Davis, but this is brilliant. There's actually a lot of Hendrix covers on this. Well, I say a lot. There's two. Up from the Skies, and there's a nearly 22-minute version of Stone Free, which I think is possibly the best thing on this. But this is this is a definite keeper and going into my small but growing jazz collection. Yeah, and that's just a brilliant cover. I don't know what age you'd have been when he made this, and all the information inside it is in Italian. It's because it was an Italian release. But yeah, double album, Gil Evans, Parabola. Yeah, so that's that. I'm going to go and try and get a haircut, look a bit less like Wurzel Gummidge. But yeah, as always, leave a comment below. I always try and reply to them. Love to hear your thoughts on what I've been picking up, and yeah, hopefully see you again in the next week or so.